Hello farmers and aspiring farmers, thank you for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. Now, just because we are in the winter season, today we have taken the opportunity of looking at broccoli production, which is specifically meant to be producing during the winter season. If you look at our vegetable calendar here in Zimbabwe. To discuss this, and we've taken the liberty of inviting Mr. Bright Musakanda. He is a seasoned horticultural agronomist working with Seedco under the Midlands province. Bright, thank you for joining us today.
How are you, Wazanai?
Yes, as we get into our discussion, Bright, I would like you to give us a brief synopsis, brief introduction on Brassicas, given that they are produced specifically in the winter season. Why is it so? And some of the things that you might just want to highlight as we introduce our episode.
Okay. First and foremost, Brassicas, they love cool temperatures. That's why here in Zimbabwe, we grow them during the winter. That's number one. Number two, you find out during the winter, diseases like fungal diseases, they are a bit low during the winter. So that's why it's most ideal to do Brassica production in winter. Unlike in summer, whereby the conditions or humidity will be high, which encourages fungal diseases and fungal infections. So Brassicas do well during the winter season.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Bright. I want us to look at issues surrounding plant population. Per hectare or per unit area, what are we looking at in terms of the population for starters? Secondly, when establishing your Brassicas, do you establish it in situ? Do you go for the seedlings? Do you establish them on a ridge or just flat out on the working surface? What is it like in terms of establishing the Brassicas?
Okay, focusing on broccoli and cauliflower, I would say when you are doing cauliflower production, you need to target a plant population of around 30 to 33,000. Then when it's a broccoli, you need to do 35,000 to 40,000. Because when it comes to spacing, you need to grow your broccolis a little bit closer. You can use a spacing of 15 centimeters because you are just targeting 425 grams per each plant. But when it comes to cauliflower, you are targeting around 1.2 kg per plant. So you need to have a wider space. That's why you make it a population of around 33,000. When it comes to Brassica production, you can grow them both in situ or you can transplant.
Okay.
When I say in situ, I mean you can plant the seed
Directly.
at the station directly,
Okay.
or you can use a precision planter to plant. You calibrate and you use a precision planter, or you can do seedlings first in a nursery, then you transplant them into the field at their permanent positions.
Okay, now in terms of the working surface, what are we looking at? Are they ridges? Are they beds? Is it directly on the working surface? What is it like, or your recommendations as a seasoned agronomist that you might want to tell our seasoned farmers in terms of producing these broccolis?
I would say it depends with the season. Normally when it's in winter, you can plant them on a flat surface, but when it's a summer, you need to do raised ridges. What are the advantages of raised ridges? When you plant crops on raised ridges, those ridges drain water fast.
Yes.
So there won't be any water logging. As you know, as I have highlighted before, that when there's a lot of rainfall or there's water logging actually encourages fungal diseases.
Okay.
So you need to grow them on ridges so as to discourage the fungal diseases and fungal infections.
Okay, now Bright, looking at the issue of either planting in situ or obtaining nursery or seedlings from reputable sources, what would you want to advise our Zimbabwean farmers? Would you recommend for someone who's just maybe starting, who wants to venture into this enterprise, what would be your word of advice in terms of how they must establish their broccoli? Would you advise them to get it from a nursery or reputable nursery, or maybe someone who does that, or you would want to say that it is good for them to do it on their own? What are the advantages of either side, the pros and cons of either doing it in situ or obtaining your nursery seedlings?
Oh, definitely. Even if a seasoned farmer or someone who is getting into agriculture, when it comes to Brassica production, you need to look for a reputable nursery. They do your nursery, then you transplant them. Why am I saying that? If you try to do the nursery on your own, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of challenges that you might face. Of course, you might have the knowledge, but some of these things, they need practical. They need
expertise.
Yes, they need expertise. So I encourage farmers to look for reputable nurseries, because nursery production on its own, it's something that is intense, that needs someone with knowledge. So you can't just say, I'm a new farmer, I want to reduce the cost, so I'm doing my own nursery. Of course, there are costs involved, but sometimes the extra cost is worth it when you use a nursery.
Looking at the soils that support our broccoli production, what are we looking at in terms of the soil type? Gloomy, sandy, clay, or whatever. And also, before you answer that, I want also us to look at maybe the ecological zones that support profitable, lucrative, sustainable broccoli production, because you cannot just say every area is suitable or every soil type is suitable. Talk to us in terms of the soil types, the climatic conditions, in this case in Zimbabwe, the agroecological zones that you might say they are most conducive for broccoli production.
I would say when it comes to brassicas, and in particular cauliflower and broccoli, they favor clay to loam soils with a pH of around 5.5 to 6. So you find out that if you plant them on heavy clay soils, if for example cauliflower, when it rains or when you are irrigating using sprinkler, those soil particles will be splashed and they will
on
stain.
The white surface.
They will stain the white surface. So usually when it's heavy clay, it doesn't do well when you are doing cauliflower. Yes, or brassicas. But for example, if they are cabbages, you can do them on heavy clay. You don't have a problem. But just because we consume this part of broccoli or the cauliflower, you need to be very careful with the soil type that you are using. Usually you find out the red soils have more nutrients. So farmers tend to grow these crops on the red soils because they have no option. So what you need to do when you are growing them on red soils, you need to watch out for the irrigation method you are using. If you are using sprinkler which splashes the soil particles on it, you need to be wary. You need to make sure that you minimize the impact of the raindrops. So if you are using if you are on red soils, I recommend farmers to use drip irrigation if they are doing cauliflower and broccoli.
Thank you so much, Brett, for that. On that note, viewers, we've come to the end of the first segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Just because we are in the winter season here in Zimbabwe, we have taken the liberty of inviting Bright, a seasoned horticultural agronomist, who's going to be taking us through the production of broccoli, given that on our vegetable calendar, broccoli or brassicas are produced during the winter season. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, so 0772807506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai, make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They are most welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's at Agribusiness 110. Bright, we are here in the second segment. Welcome back.
Welcome, Wadzanai.
Yes, as we get into this second segment, we normally reserve it for agronomic practices or those effective methods in which a farmer can undertake their enterprise, be it livestock or cropping. In this case, brassicas, broccoli to be specific. Bright, I want us to look at the irrigation mechanisms or techniques or methods that are effective, that conserve moisture, that save moisture, given that we are in winter, and generally in winter in Zimbabwe, we do not receive any form of rainfall for starters. Secondly, as a country, we're experiencing the El Nino-induced drought, meaning that we did not receive our normal rainfalls. Our water bodies are depleting. The water is not the same level as it used to be in years prior to this one. Talk to us in the most effective, efficient way a farmer can irrigate their brassicas or their broccoli.
Okay, thank you, Wadzanai. Let me start with agronomy. When it comes to agronomy of brassicas and in particular broccoli and cauliflower, the most important aspect is good land preparation.
Yes.
You know, the roots of these brassicas, they can penetrate up to 60 centimeters, but the concentration zone is around 20 to 30 centimeters. So a farmer has to make sure that the depth when plowing is around 20 to 30 centimeters, which enables fertilizer uptake with for the plant, which enables water uptake when the plant is taking the water, because when the soil is compact, it means that when you irrigate, your water won't be able to penetrate up to the sufficient or the exact root zone which is needed by the plant. Number two, if your soil is compact, it means that your crop will waste a lot of energy trying to penetrate to that hard compact ground.
Yes.
So it will actually take some of the energy that is supposed to be used for the vegetative growth and divert it backwards to the
root
roots.
penetration.
Yes, to root penetration. So this is very, very important when it comes to brassica production. Then the second aspect is of course soil testing.
Okay.
For one to know the correct amount of nutrients that are needed by a certain crop in his field, you need to have the correct nutrient formation.
Yes.
So how do you obtain it? You take yourselves to the lab for testing, then they give you the recommendation. When it comes to crops like broccoli or cauliflower, like I have said before, the best irrigation method is using drip.
Yes.
Why am I saying that, Wazanai? Because if you are using drip, there won't be any rain splashing or a drop splashing from the ground.
Okay.
So which means your cauliflower or your product will remain pure and clean. Like, as you know, we consume that part of the broccoli or cauliflower. So drip irrigation is the best when it comes to broccoli or cauliflower production.
Okay. Now you would find that, Bright, generally irrigation leads us to most important aspects of any cropping enterprise, looking at insect diseases management. Certain irrigation types bring in certain diseases or certain weeds. With water comes the risks of weeds, infestation, insect pests, disease, and also diseases that might be a menace when it comes to brassicas production. Can you talk to us in terms of those diseases, those insect pests, the active ingredients in chemicals that you would want to emphasize for the sake of our audience there? You'd find that most chemicals now have generic names, have fancy names, but at the end of the day, we are looking for that active ingredient which either treats a certain aspect when it comes to broccoli production.
All right. I'll start by saying usually diseases and pests, they are affected, or they are propelled by the type of season that we are in.
Okay.
For example, whether you are in summer or you are in winter, you find out during the summer time or the temperatures, when around October, November, when the temperatures are high, you find out you have a lot of problematic pests like DBM.
Okay.
Diamond black moth. That diamond black moth affect this brassica as well, in particular this cauliflower and broccoli. So when you are dealing with diamond black moth, a farmer has to make sure that he uses a combination of chemicals. As you know, we have 3 categories. You can use 3 or 4 categories of our chemicals. We have the purple label, which is encouraged not to use. It has been banned in some aspects. Then you need to switch to the red, orange, and the green. So there are a lot of chemicals that you can use that are user friendly. I would recommend that the green labels, like the Nemesis, you can use the Nemesis to control diamond black moth. Diamond black moth, when it comes to brassica production, is the most problematic pest.
Okay.
And once a farmer manages to control DBM, the rest is just minor things. When I'm talking of minor, I'm talking of aphids.
Yes.
And you can just use your dimethod to control the aphids.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Bright, let us look at issues surrounding your fertilizer application system, mechanism, quantities or amounts that are required per given unit area or per given station where there is a crop of broccoli. Can you talk to us in terms of the micronutrients or the macronutrients that are essential for the development of this crown? And also, can you talk to us in terms of the supplementary fertilizers that you might want to advise our farmers to use? Because at times our farmers end up saying that since foliar fet in traditional or granular fertilizers, can you talk to us in terms of fertilizer application, demystifying those misconceptions of saying
I always tell my farmers that fertilizer yakangogadzirwa ichinzi inoenda kumidzi.
Yes.
Foliar we are supplementing.
Yes.
But fertilizer inofana kuiswa kumidzi. Now let me just get into the fertilizer program of brassicas.
Yes.
At planting, you need to plant with compound C. You need to dig a hole and you place 30 grams of compound C. Then you cover that hole. And then you take your seedling and you plant after. But not, a point to note is that your seedling, the roots of the seedling, should not be in direct contact with the fertilizer. Once your roots are in direct contact with the fertilizer, it will burn the whole seedling. Tomorrow morning you wake up and the whole field is brown.
Yes.
So you need to be aware of that. Then after planting, you just wait for a week. You check on the progress. If your seedlings are looking good, from day 7 you come in with the ammonium nitrate. You need to apply 5 grams per plant, 5 centimeters from the plant.
Okay.
So it's 5 grams, 5 centimeters from the plant. Then at day 14, you come again with 5 grams of ammonium nitrate, 5 centimeters from the plant. Then at day 21, you come again with your 5 grams of ammonium nitrate, 5 centimeters from the plant.
Okay.
Then at day 28, this is when your last application, your ammonium nitrate application ends. You come again with your 5 grams of ammonium nitrate, 5 centimeters from the plant.
Thank you so much, Bright, for giving us knowledge, and also our Zimbabwean farmers who were taking notes in terms of broccoli production. On that note, we've come to the end of the second segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, farmers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. In Zimbabwe, we are in the winter season, and as such, we encourage the production of brassicas. In this case, we are looking at broccoli production here in Zimbabwe. I am joined by Bright, a seasoned horticultural agronomist working with Seedco in Midlands. Bright, we are here in the third and final segment. Welcome back. Now, as we look at brassicas production, Bright, I want us to look at days to maturity. What are we looking at from transplanting up to harvesting? What are we looking at?
For broccoli, I would say from transplanting, depending on the variety, it takes around 55 to 60 days. Then when you are talking of cauliflower, it will take you around 75 days to 90 days, depending with the variety, number one. Number two, depending with the heat units during the season. You find out in winter, we receive the heat units are low, but in summer, the heat units are high. So it means during the summer, these crops, they ripen faster as compared to during winter season.
Okay, now I want us to look at issues surrounding yield, expected yield in terms of the grams per plant or kilograms. One broccoli plant, how many grams or kilograms can it give you, for starters? Secondly, I also want us to look at issues surrounding the shelf life of broccoli. After harvesting, before sending it to the market, how many days, or even in your kitchen, say you are a woman or you are someone who's looking to cook, you've purchased your broccoli, how many days can you look at before it goes bad? All right,
I would say a good broccoli product or a crop, it is around 425 grams. That's what I would say a good product, a good broccoli product. And when it comes to shelf life, you find out when it matures in the field, it takes around a week to 2. So I would say 14 days.
Okay.
Then when it comes to home consumption, a broccoli can go for 7 to 9 days.
Okay.
If the storage is okay, while it is still fresh.
Now, Bright, can you talk to our Zimbabwean farmers in terms of market intelligence, market research, market expectations when it comes to these brassicas? What does the market or consumers require from a farmer who's into production of these brassicas?
That's a very good question, Wazanai, because you know, when you are growing this kind of crops, you need to do a market intelligence survey first.
Okay.
Because when it comes to horticulture, we say you should be driven by the market. So it's from the market to the farm. Okay. Unlike in food crops, when you say from the farm to the market. So we find out that these broccolis and cauliflowers, they are not consumed in large quantities. Our markets like Mbare, like Kudzanai and Gweru, they don't take much.
Okay.
So a farmer has to grow, I would say, a number which satisfies the local market. Because if you grow a hectare, for example, you might find out that you might not get enough market to consume a product.
Exactly, they are consumed in small quantities.
Yes, it's a niche product.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, as we close, Bright, there are instances where I wouldn't want to say most, some Zimbabwean farmers, when sending their broccoli to the market, at times they would have sprayed maybe for aphids or for certain insect pests, for chewing and cutting pests, and they might just say, you know what, it was just left with 2 days, the chemical residue in there. 2 days. Can you talk to us in terms of the dangers that come with sending your horticultural produce, fully knowing good papa 2 days or a few days for it, kuti chemical ipere? Talk to us in terms of the dangers, and also in what ways can farmers work to ensure kuti havasikuendesa zvirimwa zvakadaro. Sometimes the desperation, sometimes the chemical yashandiswa. As we round off, talk to us in terms of that.
Allow me to say, how would you feel as a farmer to say you have sowed something and 2 2 days obvonza kuti pane munhu afa nechinhu chawakarima, you know, it doesn't sound good. So I encourage my farmers, practice good morals, practice good behavior,
ethics.
You can't say, yes, ethics. You can't sell something that you know that the chemical that you've sprayed will affect the next person who is going to consume it. Let's practice good ethics.
Yes.
Yes.
It was such a pleasure having you with us today, Bright, and thank you for taking your time coming to Harare from Midlands to undertake this episode where we're looking at commercial and profitable Brassicas production during the winter season here in Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much, Wazana.
Yes, there you had it, viewers. Today we're looking at Brassicas production during the winter season here in Zimbabwe. From me, your host was Zana Manura. I'm also on Instagram. You said Wadzi110, and the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.